This all happened within the last month. I have a sister-in-law who is a heroin junkie. She started on pills, but switched to heroin as it's cheaper and easier to procure. I always knew she was a selfish, rotten human being, but had no idea how sick she really was until this. It started 3 weeks ago when I stopped by my mother-in-law's house with my 4-year-old son. He loves his Gammy, and we had a few minutes for a visit. When we arrived, she was on the phone with her daughter and excitedly announced that little Jimmy was there to see her. She didn't mention myself being there and continued chatting for a bit. About half an hour later, I was in the bathroom when I heard my sister-in-law show up. 2 minutes later, I go into the kitchen where he was supposed to be with his grandmother. No sign of him. I ask her where he is, and she tells me that her daughter had taken him out front to play. Noticing his shoes under the kitchen table, I snatch them up and stomp outside, annoyed that she didn't bother putting them on him before going outside. I step out of the door and see her boosting my little boy into a pickup truck. A man I don't recognize behind the wheel. Obviously one of her drug buddies, stringy dirty hair, skinny, haggard looking. I sprint across the lawn, grab her, and push her out of the way so I can scoop up my boy and pull him out of the truck. Sister-in-law immediately starts whining that they were just taking him for ice cream and why do I have to be such a bitch. I inform her that my son is going nowhere without her even asking, with one of her junkie friends in a vehicle and no car seat. She calls me a few choice words and takes off with her friend. I am given grief by my mother-in-law and husband for being mean to her while she is in such a fragile state. 2 weeks later, my husband gets a frantic call from his mother that sister-in-law is in jail again, and she has no money for bail. My husband does what he always does and heads off to bail her out. However, he finds out that her bail is way beyond anything we can afford, and over the next couple of days finds out what she has done. She and her junkie friend borrowed the young daughter of an old friend to take out for ice cream, but instead of going to the local DQ, they take her to a crummy motel and leave her with a man in exchange for several $100s. As they are going back to their truck to go score with their newfound wealth, they are surrounded by cops with guns drawn. Turns out the guy in the motel room was an undercover officer, originally trying to bust heroin dealers selling out of a seedy bar that sister-in-law frequented. I do not know how she came to offer him children in exchange for money, but the officer let her do it and set her up. Now she is exactly where she deserves to be, and I hope the judge sentencing her shows no mercy.